God bless you and welcome to the Love Thy Neighbor Podcast Network. I'm your host, Anthony Wilson. And yes, this is not the normal day that I put out my podcast, but this is a special Halloween edition. I wanted to share some research and some study that I came across as I have been studying through the book of Galatians. And some of you who are familiar with the book of Galatians, some of the things I'm going to share with you today, you probably totally missed, because you would have to be looking for it in order to find it. You would have to actually be researching something else in order to connect the dots to put together this particular study. And so we're going to be diving into Halloween from the Apostle Paul's perspective. And you're probably thinking, what do you mean Halloween from the Apostle Paul's perspective? What perspective did Paul have on Halloween? Halloween is a modern day holiday, and yes, that is true. Halloween over the decades, the centuries, has morphed into what we have today. When we trace it back, Halloween was once Hallows Eve. It was once All Saints Eve, which was instituted by the Catholic Church in probably the 6th or 7th century AD. And from that point forward, became what we know as Halloween, because Halloween literally means the eve of Hallowmas. And Hallowmas was roughly translated as the gathering of the saints. And the Catholic Church, when they took over Halloween from none other than the Celtics, which we will trace back to the book of Galatians in our Bibles, they saw that they felt that it was evil and they wanted to commandeer it, as they did with a lot of holidays like Easter and Christmas and some of these holidays. If we really trace them back, we really have to examine, should we be observing these holidays? I mean, we use the term celebrating, but the biblical term is observing, and we'll dive into that as well. First and foremost, I want to thank you for listening to the Love Thy Neighbor Podcast Network, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Castbox, whatever outlet you're listening to this on. I want to thank you. If you're seeing this on YouTube, please help me out by subscribing. Click the like button, click the bell so you can get notifications whenever we put out a new video. And if you would like to support this podcast, you can go to anchor.fm/Anthony-Wilson/support and support us there, or you can go to $Wilson2273 to give a one-time gift. All of your support is needed, and we are thankful for it. Those that are supporting, thank you so much. You know that I am a full-time missionary pastor, and this is what I do all the time, is I preach, teach, disciple, podcast. That is what I do 20 hours a day. I probably sleep about 4 to 6 hours a day, get up in the morning for prayer, get back to this thing. This is my life. And so this particular study, it's not going to be long because it's going to be to the point, but I want you to grab a hold of this information. This is going to be eye-opening, especially for the members at Shore Foundation. Our church, we are a church that really dives into the Word and wants to know what the Bible says. Our church is built on the sure foundation of Jesus Christ as Lord, and we want sound doctrine to be our guide. And so as I get ready to dive into this subject, Halloween from the Apostle Paul's perspective, I want to share with you that most scholars have agreed that Halloween originated with the Celtic people. And so the Celtic people are connected to the book of Galatians by way of history. And so we're going to go into a little bit of that. The book of Galatians is written to an ancient people called the Galatians, which is translated from the word Celtic into Greek, which is Galatians. The Strong's Concordance, for those that use your Strong's, you can go right to your Strong's Concordance. It is 1053 in the Greek. Galatia, a region in Asia Minor. It took its name from the Gaelic tribes that crossed into Asia Minor and settled down in the region of Pamphylia, Pontus, Cappadocia, Phrygia, and Bithynia. They got there by the way of the invasion force that they employed to go into that region. As they were expanding into this region around 279 BCE, they expanded into the region, and the names come from the Greek Gau, which was repeated by the Latin writers of Gaeli. The Celtics were offered the region by the king neighboring Bethany, Nicomedes, and that was 278 to 255 BC. They established themselves in 3 provinces, up to 4 canton words comprised of cities, states, the governors, respectively, by 3 tribes, which made up the initial group. That's a very difficult word to say. The Galatian Celtics retained their culture at first, continued to observe their ancient religious festivals and rituals, but gradually became Hellenized to the point where they were referred to as Greek Gauls by some Latin writers. They were conquered by Rome in 189 BC and becoming a client state, but were granted a degree of autonomy under the reign of Diametros, the divine bull. After Pompey the Great, they were then known under Augustus Caesar. It is best known for the biblical book of Galatians and the letter written to the Christian community there by Paul, or St. Paul. And so the Celtics are the ones who basically were the founders of what we call Halloween. So the Celtics are given the credit for this origin. They originally had a fall festival called Samhain, and it was observed on October 31st, over 2,000 years ago, which puts them right in the biblical times. The day was a part of a celebration and a ritual. The celebration was the end of the harvest season, thus the pumpkins and nuts and the fall theme that you see in the modern day Halloween. In addition, it was a ritual to keep the dead from overcoming the living. At this time, it was believed by the Celtics, the Galatians, that the veil between life and death was at its thinnest point. And so on October 31st, on this particular Samhain, this ritual was to burn bonfires to keep back the ghosts of the past from coming into the land of the living. You wanted to keep the ghosts at bay. And so this was accompanied with, some other things, mischief and a different type of dancing and all kinds of parties that they would throw at that particular time. And this is in ancient times. This is very ancient times. The Apostle Paul was fighting fiercely for the souls of the Galatian church, and he addresses this celebration not specifically, not by name, but he addresses it in the passage of Galatians chapter 4, verses 8 through 11. And it's very interesting because once you connect that the Celtics, which most people know as European and didn't know that the same Celtics launched an invasion force into the Mediterranean and into that area of Asia Minor, and then settled there in an area which is now modern day Turkey.